Brussels. Let's talk about Brussels. So, getting to this neighborhood, I immediately became a little bit concerned. It's a sort of up and coming neighborhood. It's similar to the neighborhood I stayed in London, which was purposely picked as an up and coming neighborhood. I also picked a neighborhood in Amsterdam that I thought would be up and coming, but I don't think there is an up and coming neighborhood in Amsterdam, at least not that I've seen so far. All the neighborhoods in Amsterdam are the quality of life, just the level of accommodation and everything seems to be, the boats have all risen there. Um, Brussels, I thought when I got here, was not quite that way, and I was very wrong. So yesterday, for the first time, I left the apartment because of the sickness again. Now, I waited too long. I'm the kind of person that sort of tells myself I'll get better tomorrow probably, so it'll be dumb. I'll have all this medication that I don't need, and it's like $10 or whatever. I don't think it was $10, but um, your mind starts to make excuses for you not to just go get the medication. You should just go get the fucking medication. That's the answer to the question. And don't fall for the pharmacist was like, do you want probiotics? And I'm like, no, I don't want probiotics. I want drugs. I want medication. Probiotics is not FDA approved medication. So it's a stupid thing to say. I mean, she's a very nice lady, but no, I don't want something that doesn't work. Now, one thing to keep in mind, sometimes there are medications here that you don't have in the United States. And then also keep in mind, there's a lot of things that they don't have here that you do have in the United States. Now, many of those things are due to the fact that those things cause like cancer, or they cause you to go insane or whatever. Not insane, but you know what I mean. They cause you to lose your mind a little bit. There's all these food additives that aren't in food here that are in food in the United States. And there's a different taste to the food because of this. So if you eat any fast food, or if you eat any like Doritos, for instance, or just a lot of things, you 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 don't have certain flavor here that you have in the United States. I picked Brussels on my trip because I wanted to see the place that would be what I thought the most like Washington, D.C. And I must say that while it's so far completely dissimilar, and I was a little bit worried, I took a walk around the block in this neighborhood and was very, very pleasantly surprised by there are all these plazas everywhere. Beautiful open spaces lined with 4 and 5 and 6-story buildings that are, shops on the ground level and then apartments above or offices above, doctors' offices and dentists' offices and so on, but not necessarily in any one building. A very, 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 very. It was just so nice and so pleasant, and there were so many people there. There was a cute little band that was playing, and they were playing kind of like upbeat, bossa nova, kind of jazzy music that was sort of gypsy-ish. And there were people walking their dogs and their kids. There was kids running around and playing, and there was, it was just lovely. It was just lovely. I'd never seen anything like it, especially in Denver. Like in Denver, when they closed down a block like this. Now, this wasn't just one block, by the way. This was an expanse, multiple blocks. It was a whole plaza, and I'm going to have footage of it. But when they closed down a block, like in Denver, they closed down Larimer Street to traffic. The people in the United States just lose their minds. First off, everybody fights it. Then it happens, and they think it's the best thing that's ever happened. And then, like, urbanists from the United States say, like, "Oh, this is great. Look at how wonderful this is." And it is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's so little in comparison to what's needed. And when you get to a place like Brussels and you see this kind of pedestrianized open space where they've set out tables and chairs and they have a band, and all the restaurants put a large menu out so that as you're walking by you could read the menu and so on. They put out all these accommodations and they serve the patio and so on. It was just splendid. It was so calming and so comforting and so welcoming and so warming. I felt it was just mere blocks. Like I just happened across it. I was just like, I'll just walk, east. And I walked, and all of a sudden it just opened up into this plaza, and there were people everywhere, and there was music playing, and it was just a delight. This sort of spider web of streets here opens up to these plazas, and like I said, I just could not have been happier to be there. Now, I was still worried about shitting my pants, which is going to be a problem until my meds kick in. But wow, what a welcoming, warming convenience. One that does not exist at all in any sense in the United States. So, one thing that has been a theme, and that has been throughout all the cities that I've gone to. Now, so far, I've been to London and Amsterdam and now Brussels, is convenience. And while it's a little bit inconvenient that I don't know where things are, like I don't really know where to buy a good shaving kit. I don't know where to buy certain things. I just don't know the names of the stores, or I don't know the type of store, because things are different here. So it can be a little bit challenging to find things, but there is definitely no shortage of places to look. So if you have a problem, you are very likely to solve it. And I mean, there is a grocery store right below me. There's one on the opposite end of the block. There's about a dozen within walking distance. And there's about a half a dozen pharmacies in walking distance, when I was like, oh, where do I go to get these drugs that I need for my diarrhea? I'm going to try to say diarrhea as many times as possible in this video essay, and I want you to take a shot of something that won't cause diarrhea every time I say diarrhea. There's something close by every direction you walk in. There are chain grocery stores. There's authentic, authentic grocery stores. So there's like a Vietnamese grocery store close by. There's all these different kinds of grocery stores. There's convenience stores. There's bars and restaurants and liquor stores. Now, I haven't looked for hardware in this neighborhood. The level of convenience is just unparalleled. You don't need anything. You don't even need a rail pass. Just to be clear, I did not pick these locations for how close to the metro they were. I picked them for just the neighborhood in general, and then sort of by price, but then also sort of randomizing them, because I was like, okay, it shouldn't matter where I go. It shouldn't matter what apartment I end up in. These amenities should be readily available. And so far, they have been in spades. And I must say, so far, Brussels has been the most accessible. Now, Brussels is not known for speaking English. Now, luckily, a lot of people do speak conversational English, and so shop owners and people can talk to me in English. And so far, I've had good luck. Only one person at a convenience store really only knew a couple of words, and then a guy at I went and got fast food yesterday, mostly because I didn't want to be away from my toilet, but it's embarrassing. But the person that worked at the fast food restaurant did not know English. He knew very little English. And when I kept saying Denver, I'm from Denver, he was like, oh, Denmark. And I was like, no, Denver, Colorado. And he's like, Colorado? He didn't know that word. And then I said, United States. And he went, oh. He was like, all right, whatever. But the level of convenience that you experience in Europe is only rivaled in the United States by New York. And still not, I mean, it's still more convenient here, at least so far. I'm going to have to go back to New York and really experience it again with this sort of mindset. But convenience here has been off the charts. And when I was talking about the trains, the Eurostar, especially, that I'm referring to that as well. That was so easy and so convenient that I could do it while having hot sweats or cold sweats, whatever, sweats, and deathly afraid that I was going to shit my pants. And having just started mending after 4 days of incapacitated sickness where all I could do was get up, take ibuprofen, shit, and sleep. That's literally all I did for 4 days. And then I went on the Eurostar. You know what I mean? Like, that is just unheard of in the United States. To think that you're going to get on a plane, and if you try to get on a train, you fucking forget it, right? There aren't trains in the United States that are convenient. So anyway, so that I just wanted to give you sort of an update. It's been a fantastic trip so far, even though I got sick. Getting sick in Europe isn't the end of the world, by the way. It is unfortunate, but that's the way it went this time. And I can attest to the convenience of Amsterdam and Brussels, that when you are sick, even as a foreigner, even as someone that doesn't speak the language, it's a very simple, easy transition to get from place to place. Still, it's still easy to get what you need, if you're just even a little bit internet savvy. Speaking of people who aren't internet savvy, a lady approached me on the street today and asked for directions, which has happened to me now 3 times in Belgium. I'm a little concerned about that, but whatever. The lady asked me for directions. She was on her phone, and she just wasn't zoomed out enough to see where she was. And so she was looking at where she wants to go, and she was like, I don't know how to get there. And I just pinched her phone twice, and I was like, here's where you are. And she speaks Spanish. So I was like, estás aquí. You are here. And she was like, she looked at me confused. And I was like, estás aquí. Quieres estar aquí. And she's like, she looked at me confused again. And I was like, and I pointed down the street and I said, derecha, izquierda. Take a right, then take a left. And she was like, oh, gracias. And it's just, I don't know why I'm bringing this up other than to make fun of this poor lady. But if you have any internet savvy at all, you could find your way around Brussels quite easily. I don't know how this lady got lost 2 blocks away from where she was going, unable to manage her phone. But clearly she's not internet savvy. And I'm sure this frustrates her children.